UFC welterweight Nick Diaz. Nick, thanks so much for being with us on MMA Uncensored Live, buddy. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah, now, Nick, we all know this story. You tested positive for marijuana after the controversial loss to Condit, and you received a temporary suspension. Now, you're going to get a hearing. The hearing is most likely going to take place in April. Do you know yet what you're going to say to the people involved in the hearing in Nevada to try to lessen what the suspension is going to be?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what you're going to say yet? What will your defense be to try to make sure they don't suspend you for up to a year, which they very well might do?
I'm under instruction not to talk about that or any of this.
All right, well, we'll let that play out in April. You know, you said after the Condit fight that you were going to retire. I imagine you've had some time to think about that now. Do you still want to leave MMA and potentially consider a career in boxing?
Well, I never said anything about pursuing boxing or anything. I never really said much about anything.
Do you still want to
what I'm going to be doing in the future?
Do you still want to be the welterweight UFC champion?
Well, sure. I mean, every fighter wants to be the welterweight champion, or I mean, you know, champion, if you will.
So, is it fair to say that you're not done fighting in UFC?
You know, I've had like what feels like a week or so to think about any of this, you know, so.
I imagine that you're still probably.
I'm sure it's been.
Go ahead. I imagine you're still probably ticked off.
It's been a little longer than that, but I haven't really put much thought into it, and it just feels good to kind of, you know, get a little, get some workouts in and just try to act normal, I guess.
Right. I imagine you're still probably ticked off about the way the Condit fight ended. If you could go back and do it again, would you have tried to have taken him down? And would you have changed your strategy in fight so that you didn't lose by that controversial decision?
Yeah, I suppose I would have, you know, having known what I know now, I think that on account of knowing how they just pretty much like to pick and choose their winners at the end of fights. So having known that now, then yeah, I would have definitely, I think I could have got that fight to the ground and got it, you know, finished the fight, or been a little more dominant throughout some of those rounds, or towards the end of the fight had I put a little more pressure into the first two. But honestly, I felt it smarter to play it safe and just, you know, go ahead and push forward and win the rounds. You know, I've lost fights before where you know, I'm landing more punches and I'm moving away from the guy, and so, you know, the way that they score things at the end doesn't really seem very consistent to me. You know, I come back and I learn from my mistakes last time, and it doesn't really make a difference in the end. So if anything, I've proved you know, that this isn't really working out, because out of all these fights I've lost, you know, I'm usually winning the fights. You watch the guys taking more damage, and it's just been kind of, you know, it's just kind of irritating to me that you know, we're awarding people in mixed martial arts for you know, trying to move away and not finish the fight.
Well, Nick, listen, we really do appreciate you joining us live from California. Good luck in April with the hearing, and I speak for all MMA fans. You're beloved, and we don't want you to leave the sport, because we need guys like you. No shtick, no BS. You are who you are, and you're real, and that's why so many people love you, and we thank you for coming on as our very first guest on MMA Uncensored Live. And good luck to you, Nick. Thanks for the time, buddy.
Yeah, glad to have been fighting for something at least, you know. Right on. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Nick Diaz, everybody.
That's awesome.
Let's go to the. We are now joined by two brothers who also happen to be two of the biggest stars in MMA. UFC lightweight Nate Diaz and UFC welterweight Nick Diaz. Boys, thanks for joining us here in New York City on MMA Uncensored Live. We appreciate you both coming in today.
Yeah, thank you.
And in for one day only, I should mention. You flew in from Sacramento today, and you're going back tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, Nate, I'll start with you, because your fight's coming up in a couple months. Fighting Ben Henderson for the lightweight title. Give me an idea how you're feeling, how the training is going to start going for you, and your thoughts on fighting against Bendo.
Ben Henderson, he's a good opponent. He's had some good fights. I think I'm pretty pumped up about finally fighting for a title. It's been a long time. You know, I've been fighting everybody for at welterweight and lightweight for some time now. So looking forward to the fight. I got all my training partners, my brother having my back, and training's been going good. I just got out of a boxing camp, and so training never really stopped. So.
Based on his last 2 fights against Frankie, have you figured out what the game plan is yet for what you think you need to do to beat Bendo?
Yeah, I just got to go in there and be a better fighter, and you know, there's some. I've been watching a lot of tape and watching what he does, and just got to go in there and do the thing, do it better than him.
And Nick, obviously you're training with your brother, and you're a student of the game as well. What do you think about Nate and how he comes into the fight against Bendo?
You know, he's you know, I don't really have much to say. He's, you know, I'm proud of him. He's, you know, he's well trained. He's had, you know, he's got the best people to train with, and you know, it looks pretty good. I think that he's, you know, he's got a great shot of going out there and making a good show.
Well, let's see what the people think. We're going to put the audience on the spot right now with tonight's poll question: who do you like? And be honest, do you like Nate Diaz? Or do you like Benson Henderson? Cast your vote right now at uncensoredlive.spike.com.
Well, looking at this fight, especially when I saw Nate fight Cowboy, that fight just blew me away. You set a record for number of punches thrown, right? You have just made your past 2 opponents look amateur. It's just been amazing to see you fight, and especially to watch you grow throughout the years, your jiu-jitsu and especially your boxing as you're coming forward. Both you guys have that same style, just non-stop action and throwing.
Yeah, I got a really good boxing coach, Richard Perez. He trained a lot of good guys, Tony Dominguez and Rodney Jones and my brother Nick. And he's been working with a couple other people lately, and he's the best boxing coach there is in boxing, you know. So but he's in the MMA mix right now, and then besides that, I'm at Cesar Gracie with Jake Shields and Gil and Nick and the team. So. And we got good kickboxers coming in from all over, so we're
you are
trying to
ready
train
to go. You
hard.
are all amped up. What do you think about it, Luke?
Yeah, let me ask you about that, Nate. What do you think about Ben Henderson's submission defense? He's a strong guy. He's been in like really, really bad spots, tight spots, and he came right out of them. Maybe the fight doesn't go to the ground with you two. Maybe he just stands up the whole time. But talk to me about Ben Henderson's submission defense. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I've seen him in jiu-jitsu tournaments also, so I kind of got a good idea what he's got to deal with. And I train with the best guys in the world, you know, and he's really good. You know, I mean, I seen him in gi competition. Also, he gets out of stuff. He dominates people with the real athletic guys. So.
Well, he's the champion for a reason, obviously.
He's definitely the champion for a reason. So.
Here's some good news for you. The public has spoken, and I'm looking at it right now. 81% of our audience thinks that you will beat Bendo and become the lightweight champ. So the people are behind you, if nothing else. That ain't bad, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, you know, there's some other bigger things to get to here. Not just, of course, your upcoming fight, which we have months and months to talk about, but you know, the style of the fight and what you guys think you have to do when you step in there to fight. And Nick, this applies a little bit more to you, obviously, after the Condit fight and then some of the other fights that have taken place. Are you frustrated in the sport based on who's refereeing the sport one particular night and what you're allowed to do to win the fight versus what you think you need to do?
Yeah, it gets pretty confusing, you know. You know, I've learned from my mistakes in the past, or why I thought I lost, why I thought I've lost fights before, and I've come back and it's not so much made an improvement in my fighting style, but more so made an improvement on what I have to do to win. And you know, sometimes I go out there and do the opposite of what I did last time, and then I'll still come up short, and that's when it, you know, becomes really frustrating for me. So, but you know, it's hard. It's not like they're telling you like this is what you need to do to win fights. I mean, other than finish the fight, you don't really get too much instruction on what they're going to be scoring your rounds on. So. And
Nate, that's been a long time issue for you too, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really what the fans like about both you guys. Is you guys show up, you fight to win every single minute of every single round. So I know I don't want to see you change just to play the game. But looking back at the Condit fight, what do you think you would have done differently, knowing that he was just going to take pot shots and run?
Well, you know, I could have came out early on and you know, proceeded to try and move away from the guy, but then we wouldn't have had a fight, So
What about
Counterpunches
takedowns?
fighting.
What about takedowns? Because it worked for you in the 5th.
yeah, sure, but that was that it's not I pretty much kind of go with the path of least resistance sort of game plan. That's really what works for me. I think it's the safest bet in fighting. You shouldn't try to force somebody to fight
Right.
so you pretty much take what you can get, and that's
Let me stop you there, because right now the biggest resistance you have is with the NSAC. We will find out in a moment where Nick Diaz is. We'll hear from Keith Kaiser about it as well. And are we going to see Nick Diaz fight before February of next year? Hey, we're back live with Nick and Nate Diaz. It's MMA Uncensored Live. We've already talked to Nate about the pending fight later this year, of course, for the lightweight title, which brings us to you, Nick. Everyone knows it's very public, your fight with the NSAC, trying to have your suspension overturned. Is there an update you can give your fans on the sport as to where that appeal is right now?
I wish there was. I'm not really focused too much on that. I'm just trying to kind of live life like a normal person real quick. I've been fighting every 3 months since I was 16 or so, with one suspension or break, before. So now I'm pretty much just taking some time real quick.
You're probably bored out of your mind, right?
I'm going crazy.
We can fight after the show if you want, because Luke was saying that he's been training. We can get Luke out
Said
there.
nothing of the kind.
I'll just referee it for you, because I bruise like a grape anyhow.
Yeah.
Now, listen. A lot of people have a question about your case. So let me give you one of the biggest questions that we get asked. It's on Twitter all the time. Why would marijuana be considered, in your opinion, a performance-enhancing drug in the first place? Most of us think of marijuana, it's not going to help me fight. Do you think that it is a performance-enhancing drug?
Well, I think if somebody can kind of use it to help them medicinally, then that's going to be performance-enhancing regardless, But as far as, just somebody going ahead and going about,
it's not going to make me a good fighter if I smoke marijuana.
That's my point, exactly. Okay. Just, your random guy all of a sudden, go out there, here, try this marijuana, go smoke it and go fight. I don't think it's a good idea.
It sounds ludicrous.
Right.
As you say it,
Of course it does. Let me ask you, I wonder this, though, because it's a big debate amongst us, because I think we all feel that you've been kind of victimized here and made a scapegoat by the NSAC, considering it's marijuana versus TRT and the other legitimate performance-enhancing drugs that guys have done, and their suspensions aren't nearly as long. Do you feel like you're being picked on by the NSAC?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I feel like they expected me to be around for this long or to do half as good as I did, but they got to use somebody, I think, to point the finger at, and right now it's been me, so it's easy to make me the guy, so that's I guess I'm the guy here.
So Nick, if you're training right now, right? So if things go well, let's say the suspension is lifted tomorrow, 2 questions. A, are you ready to fight? And B, if you could fight, who would it be?
Well, I'm always training to fight, because that's just me. And
you could fill in for, if someone gets an injury, you could fill in?
Sure. I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm not going to slow my training. I compete in triathlon and just overall fitness year-round, so I'm always trying to make an improvement, as I'm growing older and just, trying to overall improve my athleticism. So, yeah, I'm always ready to do something that's worthwhile.
Do you think you deserve a title shot when you get reinstated, or the suspension is lifted?
Right, until I take an ass whooping, until they go ahead and, I don't see a lot of people, make it out of this sport without getting smashed down or without, you know what I mean? They're going to put them in there. Someone's going to end up doing them in sooner or later before they make their way out of this sport. So I don't see me walking away right now you can't say I'm on top, but at the same time, you really can't say I'm not. So.
Now we see Stephan Bonner's getting a shot at Anderson Silva. This was something you and Caesar said that you might like a shot at. What do you think about that?
They said, in what world does it make sense for me to have this fight? But, if I would have been joking around, making the joke like, okay, who are they going to get to fight Anderson Silva right now, besides me or Stephan Bonner? It would have been a big laughing matter or a big joke. But, that's what's happening now at this point in time. And, So that's fine. I just think if I was Anderson Silva, though, you know, and I'm on my way out of this, what, 37 or something, you know, I'm looking to do maybe a couple more fights, if that. And, you know, I want to fulfill my legacy. And then, you know, I'm not going to be able to do that in Stephan Bonner.
Yeah,
It's just the way I see it, yeah.
Let me stop you there. We have to go to break. We'll continue on with both Nate and Nick Diaz, and we'll bring your questions into the mix. We got the boys here, Nate and Nick Diaz. Time for your questions. We go to Facebook. You boys ready for this? Yes?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it. From Armand Mirza, here we go. Wants to know, growing up, were there any fighters you guys tried to imitate, or are there any fighters now that you try to imitate? Nick, you first. Go.
I've always been a really big Hoist Gracie fan. You know, that's pretty much what got me, you know, tapping people out. I mean,
Right.
I wasn't under any instruction jiu-jitsu, but I know what I see, and I'm like, you know, it's like, hey, I can do that. You know, I started putting chokes on people pretty quick.
Just random people like walking down the street?
No,
hey, I'm going to choke you out.
No, I just at home screwing around with friends,
I got you.
doing arm locks, and then I made my way into you know, a fight team training.
Nate, how about you? And you can't say your brother.
Yeah, definitely Hoist Gracie and Hickson Gracie and all those guys. Hendo, they used to all fight in Gracie in action tapes and do really cool things.
Right.
More up-to-date people like Ninja Hua, Shogun Hua, they were really good to watch. And then
Guys like that. I got you.
My dude right here.
And your dude right here. Twitter question from Brandon New, who asks Diaz brothers, do you feel like you're misunderstood by the media? Nick, I'll start with you on that one. Do you think this Diaz bad boy image is unfair and it's perpetrated by the media? Guys like Luke on MMAfighting.com?
Yeah, right.
You know, people got to have stuff to talk about, and that's just what they have. I mean, that's the first stuff that comes up. I mean, you don't get much but an image of me, you know, doing this number.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much all people have to work with. I don't make it on shows like this to do talks about how I am or how I'm not really very often. So, you know, it's just pretty much people are going on what they're seeing. You know, I come out to fight. We're doing a fight here. It's fight. It's hurt business, and it's warfare. You know, I'm going out there.
Final two quickies for you boys. Just quick. If you want to do one-word answers, you can. If you're eligible to fight tomorrow and you're in there with GSP, do you beat him?
Oh yeah, I win a fight. Yeah.
And after December, are you the new lightweight champion of the world?
it's definitely the plan.
Are we arm wrestling?